You got to be able to just talk to that person next to you and tell them what you do because you should be passionate about it enough to do that. Get a card, have your card with you. The neighbor on the street who you know owns a small, manufacturing company. You got to let people know what you do. And you've got to find the people who know people, the people who want to introduce you to people. We all have those people we know, who everybody in town, and you've got to tell them what you're doing and they will make introductions.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets Podcast. I'm Kevin, and today we are joined by Peggy Hogan. She is the VP of Client Services and Career Coach for Purple Inc. You've been a coach for over 9 years. That's quite a long time. So welcome to the show, Peggy.
Thank you, Kevin. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's kind of start at the lore, the beginning, the origin story. How did you become a coach?
So I started in recruiting many years ago, and I worked at a very large bank, and then I moved into a very large marketing and communications and advertising company and worked in human resources there, primarily doing recruiting, and then did a little bit of consulting. But when you're a recruiter, people ask you naturally about how to get a job. So it starts out kind of organically with people seeking your advice. And when I started with Purple Inc., I actually was working part-time as a recruiter. And then I just found a huge reward in helping people in their career journey. So really built the program at Purple Inc. into kind of a full-fledged career coaching program. Started just, kind of using tools that I knew, and then kind of went on from there to really make it more of a process too.
As you're building this program out, everybody talks about ideal client profile. So kind of curious about your target audience.
So I think just because, we knew people would come to us organically and then they would make referrals. And then we realized we had a good thing going and put some, like I said, processes around that. But generally, I would say professionals. But we do get people who will call up and maybe their child is kind of stuck, doesn't know what they want to do next. So it's kind of grown. And, from the standpoint of how do I get a job to how do I find a passion and the right type of career. So around those areas, and even just, I need a new resume. But I would say that's not our typical client. But generally, anyone who's really seeking a professional level job. But we've also helped people who maybe were at companies. And I helped someone once who did the laundry for one of the college university football teams. And so she really just she'd done it for 20 years. They outsourced her role, did not know what to put on her resume, didn't feel that she even had skills. So it can span from that type of a role to C-level.
So that's quite a wide audience.
It is, yes.
Let's talk about marketing for a sec too. As you're building this program, how did people typically find out about it and all that? And what kind of marketing are you guys kind of doing?
Well, so Purple Inc. is full service HR consulting firm. So we are meeting with clients a lot. Sometimes we're helping them to recruit someone, and sometimes they might even be parting ways with an employee. So we started offering outplacement services to the clients that we had and found pretty good success with that. We've got some clients who will introduce us to several people throughout the year that they're just deciding to part ways, or they might even have a small rift or maybe potentially a bigger one. So we did, in terms of marketing, start creating some content to market that outplacement service, as well as individual coaching services. I had sort of a career coaching group that people could join, and we had a series that they could join. We referred both our outplacement clients. We'd put them through that series, but then we would advertise it. I say advertise, it was really social media, posting on social media. So that's primarily, I would say, social media.
Now, for those who might not be familiar with outplacement, can you describe what outplacement is?
So outplacement, career transition services, they're sort of interchangeable, but basically when a company is having a reduction in force, layoffs or they're eliminating positions, whatever the case might be, or maybe someone's not a good fit in that role, to help them ease into a new role, to help them with that exit, which can be very stressful for people. They're offering that sometimes during that kind of discussion about, hey, I'm sorry, but your role's been eliminated. We do want to offer some support to you. And so they will offer that support. It's a nice benefit when companies are able to do that. And while it helps the person take a big burden off themselves, it also sends a message to the rest of the employees that our employer here didn't offer this service.
I see. So it's like, yeah, that's interesting because I always wondered what's the benefit to the employer for offering like outplacement and all that. That's interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely a reputation benefit. And most employers truly care about their employees. And so even if you don't want to put an ROI on it, which there is, because they will get jobs faster and they will more likely find a role that they enjoy, employers do want to not have hard feelings when they have to make some of those difficult choices.
Let's talk about the different coaching modalities. I know, like, I've talked to a lot of different coaches. Some do one-on-one, some do sort of like group coaching. Like, what modalities have you kind of like, I guess, drifted towards, or decided to use?
We've done some group coaching. So in the case of an employer is letting go a number of people, we might offer that as one thing where we're doing sort of a general job search strategies, how to be successful in a job search. And then we might follow up with maybe just doing their resume for them or depends on the budget that employer has. So that would be the extent of group coaching, I would say. And then generally it's one-on-one coaching for us, and a client, whether it's through outplacement or an individual, will choose a package that they want to use. And then we have some sort of a la carte things too. Like if somebody is like, hey, got my resume, I actually have an interview next week, I really just want to prep with someone, then we could do like a one-off interview prep session too. But our first package would be more of a branding package. So it's like resume, the LinkedIn profile, showing them how to use that, how to be successful. And then our next package is more kind of soup to nuts. We're going to get your branding materials in place, but we're also going to do interview coaching. And it's a combination of resources and conversations. So ours is on call. We don't set a fixed number of meetings. We do define a time frame. So one package might be 60 days of support. You get through sort of the content in a couple weeks. We can teach you how to search for a job successfully in a couple weeks, but then we're still there if you just feel stuck or if you want to do interview prep or you don't know how to talk about salary. So, but it's really kind of beginning to end. And then the next package that we have is actually a much deeper dive into the person. This isn't someone who needs a job now. It's someone who feels a little lost. They're in finance, but they've always kind of wanted to do real estate, or they just don't feel like it's a fit for them anymore. And they're more exploring career paths and maybe even learning more about their personalities. So that one's a little bit more kind of in depth, and we'll do some assessments even.
That's interesting. I didn't think about the second scenario, all that.
Yeah.
As you were building out this program, right? And obviously you don't have to give any hard numbers, but I think an area that a lot of coaches struggle with are like pricing strategies, right? And so as you're trying to figure out different pricing for your packages and all that, what did you base it off of? Because I know some people base it off of like, oh, the hours or the value you give, the value you deliver for others. How did you, like, what were some of the factors that went into your pricing?
Great question. So definitely, what is the service that we're delivering? If it's obviously that high-end package and we're using assessments, we build the cost of the actual assessment into it. And there's going to be additional time going over that assessment and some additional coaching around various things. If this is more of an executive level, like outplacement, generally companies have bigger budgets. And I know that in our case, we're very, very competitive with the much more kind of national services that are out there. And I feel that I know we're competitive price wise, and I know there's a higher touch. So really for us, we've kind of adjusted the pricing along the way for sure and seen what the market can bear, but still recognizing that I want to help someone who's an individual who's really struggling right now. And even if they're paying for it for themselves, I'm not going to recommend, the highest package if someone's going to be served by that middle package. But generally, I've never had anyone complain about price. And I think the value proposition is if I can help you get a job a week faster, what's the cost of that? If I can help you find a role that you're excited about and you really feel like you're going to be able to use your strengths every day, what's that worth you? And then I think it's a really easy one one for you to see is if I can help you, like let's say the package is $1,000. If I can help you negotiate $1,000 more or another week's vacation, it's paid for itself easily.
That's really interesting. I love that how you like transitioned into value based and all that. That's my favorite. By the way, that's my favorite pricing model, like the
Yeah.
value based type of stuff.
I will
Now you
say
said,
though, Kevin,
yeah.
the owner of Purple Ink is a CPA. And so when
Mm,
you work as a consultant and you build clients, you fill out a timesheet. Doesn't matter, you're exempt, doesn't matter who you are, you fill out a timesheet. And so we do consider like our hourly rate and our billable
mm,
rate. And
mm.
so career coaching for us is a lower billable rate than recruiting, let's say. But
Yeah.
any individual can decide what their time is worth. And that's where you say,
Mm,
okay, if I'm going to support someone for 60 days, I don't know how many times they're going to call necessarily. If your package is more, you get 8 meetings, it's very easy to do the math on that. So I think you really do have to just think about what is your time worth and you have to track it because
yeah.
especially when you're a solopreneur, you are not probably that good at really doing like a time study and what your time is worth. So it really is important to not undervalue what you're doing.
Speaking about undervaluing, you said something really interesting earlier. You're like, oh yeah, I know we're competitive. And I know nowadays we can easily do like a chat GPT prompt and just be like, hey, do deep research about like rates. But I guess prior to these days, like, because I feel like pricing is kept very secretive sometimes and it's
Yes.
also kind of taboo. How do you kind of figure out like whether your pricing is competitive to other like providers, I guess, compare other providers?
I think, you can find out from some people what pricing is. I will say our pricing is right on the website. So
Oh,
we put it out there because, I don't like being tricked into going in and finding out what the
wasting.
prices are. And I'm proud of our pricing. I think that you're getting experts working with you, but it is an investment. I'm not going to say that $1,000 or more isn't an investment, but I'm very, pleased that we're able to offer that to people. And I have occasionally broken that down for someone who needs to maybe split it in half or something. But really, if someone isn't willing to invest a little bit of money in their own career search, I think that says something.
Yeah. Okay. Now, something I'm very curious about. So you built this practice up, right? Where do you kind of want the career coaching arm of the business to take you in the next few years? Do you guys have any ambitions or like initiatives that are top of mind for you?
Definitely. So we also offer executive coaching, leadership coaching, really coaching for anyone. So if a leader says, I've got this person, they're here, but there's this big gap, and we'd like to coach them to help them kind of, change that behavior or do whatever they need to do to grow, we do that as well. In terms of the business, I've got a couple of people on my team that I've kind of been training to get the resume started and become their own. Maybe they're an expert in the personal branding aspect. So ultimately, I would love to have more people on our team who are able to career coach. We have several recruiters who I've trained on how to do interview prep. So when we do get a reduction in force, that is 40 people, 60 people, we are able to do that. But ultimately, I would love to grow that outplacement business because companies, with the economy the way it is, we've seen a lot of change. And unfortunately, that's resulted in a lot of job loss. And so getting companies to really see that benefit in offering their employees assistance would be, I think, our biggest growth area. But individuals are very open to career coaching. And oftentimes it comes from a loved one. I've had people buy, our kind of deeper dive package for a spouse. When someone is just feeling kind of stuck at home, or parents for a graduation gift giving career coaching.
Oh,
So
that's a
there are a
really good
lot
gift.
yes, it is. And that's something that you time it with graduation, you time it with Christmas. Hey, what a great gift to give your child, your friend, your partner. And again, it's reasonably priced. And well, I shouldn't say it's not necessarily, it might be a bigger gift than most people give, at the holidays or something, but it could be a
Yeah.
really meaningful and impactful gift, much more than, whatever the latest, trends are in fashion.
Yeah, like a little boo boo doll or something is probably way more valuable than that.
Yeah, I would love to see it to continue to grow because It's really a passion of mine. When people are in the wrong role or they're looking for work, they bring that home. And the minute they walk in the door or they're not going out the door every day, their kids and family see that, they're just not who they're meant to be. And, they're not maybe carrying themselves with the energy that you would love to be showing to your family and kids, right? You can't be fully present and engaged if you don't have a career that you like. It's a big part of us. It's where we spend a lot of our time. So I like to think of, why is the kid at home that sees their parent excited that they got a new role, they got a raise, they're able to move into a nicer home, get a vacation for their family. That's my why.
As you're thinking about getting more people on your team, growing the outplacement side of the business, I couldn't read my writing. That's why I was looking at my sticky note. What are some challenges and bottlenecks you're kind of noticing right now?
In terms of growing, you mean? It is somewhat cyclical when recruiting is down and companies aren't hiring. Outplacement and career coaching are up. Even if a company isn't providing that to their employees, people still will seek it out. Like I said, to help a friend, people will decide to invest in it. So I think when people realize the burden that's lifted from them by just even having someone get started, give them a direction, give them a little bit of a path, walk beside them, people buy into it, very quickly. If you have the credentials and the expertise, anybody can be a career coach. But I do really believe in, I'm not going to hang a shingle outside my door that I do something if I don't have the credentials and the experience and I'm going to say wisdom to really be able to give them the best advice. And so making sure, I don't know that's really answering your question about obstacles, but I think if someone just decides to be a career coach and they haven't done the work and they don't have a program that they're at least developing, I think that's a big obstacle for someone. I do not believe someone has to have a website. They have to have every marketing material developed. I developed a lot of things as I saw the need. So I had a career coaching client who was very bitter about being let go from their employer. Could not get past it. Really needed to go to a therapist and to work through some things and could not reframe why he lost his job. So I wrote a blog about that. How to reframe your termination to get the next job. That's a resource I send out to people. Even if it wasn't the case that someone was let go for bad behavior or progressive discipline or anything like that, or for cause, it still gives some language around why you've left that company and what you want to do next. Always focusing on the positive. But as I hear people come up with different situations, or maybe I've got a lot of clients saying, gosh, I'm never going to get hired, I'm over 50, then I might develop something to help them tackle what they perceive that obstacle to be, which might be age. And there might be more their perception around age.
It's really interesting, these scenarios that you bring up in terms of who might benefit from these services. You brought up the graduation kid. You brought up the person who is just fired or terminated from their job and stuff. Are there any kind of I don't know how to phrase it, maybe unexpected populations that would or any unexpected people, or maybe certain unexpected life events where these services would be super, super helpful for?
Definitely. So I think of a very common one is someone who's completely pivoting. I've had teachers, nurses, they just want to be in the business world or they want to try a new thing. So career pivots are big. I have had people who are neurodivergent and they know that's a struggle with how they're perceived, how they interview, and they know that it can be sort of an outer block for them sometimes in terms of getting a great role. I've had people who, in terms of a sudden life change, maybe they don't want to work full time anymore, but they still want to have an income. Maybe they've had some children. People who have gotten divorced who relied on their spouse's or partner's income now all of a sudden have to go back, get insurance. Their career was 30 years ago and they're not even really sure what the right thing to do now is. So those, I would say, are big life events for sure. And certainly people who relocate too, and they might not know the area and understand the company dynamics and things like that.
Final advice. If you had to build this practice all over again from scratch, but you have all the wisdom that you have right now, what would your first 90 days look like?
That's That's a big question. Okay. I think it's always important to know your why and kind of articulate that in your own little mission. Now, I would not spend more than, might think about it for a week, but get it down on paper. Like, gotta just get started. You can't let something like that stop you from moving. I would start telling friends, create an email campaign to friends, tell them that I was offering this service and would appreciate their referrals. I would create a couple social media posts that share the why. I would try to incorporate video in that because I think people do want to see who they're going to be working with and share, what the value is for them. What's their value proposition by working with me?
How about we change up the question one more time? Because I think you did a great job with the B2C market. But let's add another challenge.
Yeah.
Let's say you have to only work with an organization or B2B or something like that. Like, what would those first 90 days also look like?
So in that case, I would definitely want to develop some communication templates that are going to work. I would want to have a website's probably going to be more important if I'm working with a business. So get that website up. I would want to have some testimonials running on the website. I'd want to have some people that could be a reference rather. I'd want my LinkedIn profile for all B2C, B2B. I'd want my LinkedIn profile to look great, show that value proposition again. Nobody wants to work with a negative coach. Attitude, positivity, encouragement. Those are all really important. You gotta care. Even organizations, they don't want to hire you if you don't truly care about their people.
Yeah.
And so again, you're going to have to just do more marketing, more emailing people that asking for references, referrals, introductions. Try to get on the phone with somebody, the HR director. Let them know you're offering this service. If you're an individual, you might be able to have, a lower price point that could compete with some of the really big firms out there because you're not carrying all this overhead. So you might be a niche that is open if you're an individual. And that could be a neighbor. You talk about your business everywhere. If you're sitting at the bar watching whatever your favorite football team is, mine's Michigan, so I'm going to say go blue. You got to be able to just talk to that person next to you and tell them what you do because you should be passionate about it enough to do that. Get a card, have your card with you. The neighbor on the street who owns a small, manufacturing company. You got to let people know what you do. And you've got to find the people who know people, the people who want to introduce you to people. We all have those people we know, everybody in town, and you've got to tell them what you're doing and they will make introductions.
Well, Peggy, great advice in sharing all your experience too. How can people find you? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, they could connect with me on LinkedIn. Peggy Hogan at Purple Ink. I'm in the Indianapolis area, Indiana, so should be able to find my profile there. And then I was Peggy it's Peggy at Purple Ink with a K, LLC.com.
Great. Well, Peggy, again, thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Thank you for divulging your pricing strategies and thoughts behind that. And also, I think the most memorable part was your why. So I really, really appreciate that as well.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.